How are you, folks? Enzo DiCasanzo podcast, and this is January 20th, and we're already doing the ninth time value of money lecture. So we're going to repeat the Bill Gates problem because that's most likely going to be the midterm assignment. So I had a couple emails from people who've worked with me before. We did about 2 assignments per, every 2 weeks. I'm sorry, every 2 weeks we did an assignment generally. But this semester we're going to do a midterm and a final assignment, and the final assignment will be on the Federal Open Market Committee, which is more of a macro topic, but this is the micro. The micro topic is the corporate finance. Talk to anybody at Princeton, and they'll tell you that corporate finance is micro economics, and it's some good examples. So let's get right to it. Okay, this we don't need. Right there. Okay, so we worked out the 79 billion version last time. Your assignment is you have to find the current version, which I think we looked it up somewhere is 104 billion or something. So that'll probably be the exam, the midterm exam assignment. We worked out the real interest rates, the nominal interest rates. So again, this starts very basically with the present value of a bunch of cash flows, okay, and then it expands from there. Oh, we had the textbook here. What was page 150? And the real interest rate part gets folded back into this at some point too. Mortgages, we're coming with that. Lottery. Yeah, here it is. How much luxury? So we're going to do this. Actually, we're going to do this one, the 2013 one, which was the $67 billion version. Okay, and like I said, what you have to get in your heads what we're talking about every time. That's always an important piece of the puzzle. Okay. So what are we doing here? We're doing, so this we did already. We're going to do 30 years, discount rate nominal 6%. And what's in the account now is 67 billion. Not 6 zeros, 9 zeros. Okay. So the guy did pretty good. Okay. Okay. So we have all that. I'm just clearing out some of the fill, the cell fill. Check. We're going to hit the check pretty soon with somewhere. But here, I want to put the visual in front of you. And actually, this is just for my answers. You see all these payments? Okay, that's the visual that we're going to be hitting here. Okay, and this see the nominal rate is here, and also the long run inflation is 3%, and from there we want you to work out the real rate of interest. So see, remember this formula? We gave you the formula. So you have to solve for the real rate. So if it's 1 plus 6% divided by 1 plus 3% minus 1, right? So it's equal parenthesis. What's on the right side? 1 plus the nominal rate, which is the 6% up here, okay, divided by 1 plus 3%, which is there, and then subtract that 1 to solve for real rate. And the real rate is 2.91. I think we saw that before. Okay, I think we saw that previously. And same thing, 30 years, right? We're looking at 30 years on that. All right, and that'll be another table that we're going to work on. Okay, but here, just using you see all these payments, that's it. Okay, so what we're going to do is, the present value. Okay, the present value. You want to solve for the cash flow. That's the C right in there. And again, how good your your algebra is, or your mathematics is. That plays a big role in this. Okay, so something like this: 1 divided by r minus 1 divided by r times 1 plus r to the t power. It can get, that can get very messy. Okay, so here, let's solve the factor again, the annuity factor again, equals parenthesis, another parenthesis, and again, how good your parentheses are. 1 over 6% minus 1 divided by 1, well, parenthesis, right? That r again times 1 plus the r again to the exponent of 30. Okay, and then another, close out all the parentheses. It should be 13.7648. And that's based on real. Yeah, there it is, 13.764. So what that means is, for you to get $31 cash flows, you've got to invest $13.76 at 6% at T0. That's what that means, what the annuity factor means. So you're investing $13.76, and you get $1 30 times in the next 30 years. For a 1 year, period of interest accrual, if you want to look at it from using the accounting words. Okay, but that happens 30 times. So it's got to be 30 years. So you put $13 in, it earns some interest and whatever it is. It might be $14. Then you take out a buck, it's down to 13, and then 13 grows to 13 and a half. You take out a buck, you have 12 and a half. Then it grows to maybe 13 or 13 again or whatever. You take out a buck, it goes back to 12 and like that. Okay, so you have an initial amount of capital. It grows and grows and grows, but you're making 30 drawings over 30 years. Okay. And again, this is all set up. So I got an email from somebody yesterday saying, "Hey, professor, what do you want me to do with this?" So obviously at a reasonable pace, not at a breakneck pace, but every 2 days, watch a lecture and work out the Excel. That's what you should be doing. And recently we want to read the chapter. Read chapter 5. I think that's important. You want to read chapter 5 in the textbook. Okay, so that's how you're looking at this. So you have the annuity factor. You have the present value. So the present value is 67 billion divided by the annuity factor, and this will work out your cash flow. It's about 5 billion, 4.86, but about 5 billion. Okay, so in other words, Bill Gates back in 2013, he said, "Okay, my next 30 years of living, is going to look like this. I can pull out 5." Now you might sit there and say to yourself, "Well, professor, why don't you just take 6-7 billion and just divide?" Right? And I think we worked this out before. Take this, divided by 30 years, right? That's about 2 billion. Well, here's the difference. When you don't account for the capital growing all those years, you're shortchanging almost by 100%, right? What you could be, or more, right? What you could be spending. You could be spending, 4 billion, and that initial calculation is only about 2.5 billion or so. So you're underestimating what your annual cash flow can be. Okay, and that means you less utility, yes, less development, less whatever, less satisfaction. Okay, so this is without time value. I'll put a note here, without time value of money computation. Okay, which is that. All right, that's how you can look at that. And we did a check. What kind of check did we do here? Yeah, the check was we used the present value computation. The rate was 6%, 30 years. Here's your payments, and you end up with no money, and there you go. And again, also, I don't know why it's using currency somehow, but copy. When it's red like that, that means it's currency somehow. There's a problem with that. But that's using the present value function. So we got our 67 billion back again, is really what that is. And this we're just highlighting the answer here. That's all that is. Okay, whoops. Yellow. Okay. And again, it says, so here's your conclusion. Extremely cash flow, the payment at the end of the year for 30 years. But 4.86 a year for 30 years. Okay. That's your conclusion right at the bottom there. Folks, learn how to do this. Okay, learn how to do this. We'll get back to this in a second, but this is the inflation version. Now, the inflation version takes this without us retyping all that math. It just takes the rate and the years. So we'll say copy. Just as annuity factor, we'll just drop it in there. And this is going to be 30 years. And these are all the rates 2.9, 2.9, 2.9. Okay, so it's they're on. So now with the inflation impact, you see how that's impacted your capital plan, your capital management. Now you need $19.82 as opposed to $13. You needed more because inflation's eating away at what you want to spend. Okay, so the inflation adjusted capital that you need is about $20 to pull out a buck for the next 30 years. Okay. And again, now this is all based on $2013. Annual spending, this is the same. Oops. Yeah, this is the same. This is this is you're computing your cash flow here. So that's the same. That's taking the net worth and dividing it by the rate. So this would be 67 divided by the new annuity factor, which is there. And you can see it's a little bit of a different number now. The inflation adjusted number, you're spending less, 3 billion as opposed to, so you'd have to live with that, right? Instead of 5, you're spending 3 billion or so. Okay. Same thing, 67, not 6, 9 zeros. Okay. And this is your check from before, same check as before. So this would be, the rate would be 2.9. Years would be 30 years. And those are your payments. And again, I don't know why I did that, but yeah, it's currency. Why is that currency? Is this currency? No, this is accounting. So copy. I don't know why it's doing that. There you go. All right, using the present value function to get your 67 billion back again. And then there's your conclusion. Yeah, it's off a bit. Why is that off a bit? I don't know why it's off like that. So this would be 3,379. A little typo from summers long ago, right? That we worked on this. Yeah, 3,379. Okay. So again, so what you need to do now, again, this is a repeat, folks. This is all, anyways, we'll save this one as save as you work. But again, you want to, as the toughest, maybe for you guys, the toughest part might be this, plugging into these formulas and the inflation formulas here. Those might be the toughest algebraic parts of this, but everything else, this is just division. This is just using the Excel formula. Even this isn't too bad, right? That's not too bad. Okay. Oh, okay. Now, we have our table here. So what we'll do is we'll enter year 0 equals this thing 1. Okay, there's your 30 years, and we're working on the nominal, right? Using the nominal rate. And all that first, today, that initial point in time, all you really care about is 67 billion. And you go all the way across right there. That's all you care about is 67 billion. And at the end of this particular year, that's all you care about, right? So because you're using that for computation purposes. So what's happening here is, and now we can go to the payments part. You computed the payments up here, right? You computed your annual payment nominally, without not inflation adjusted, was about 4.8, right, billion. And you'll just equate these all to themselves, and you go all the way down, Control D, like that, and then save. Okay, so that's what you're doing. You're taking a $67 billion amount of capital and you're figuring out how to spend it over 30 years optimally, not just dividing by 30 years and saying, well, that's it, because it's still going to be earning interest. So you're accounting for the capital appreciation over the 30 years is what you're doing. So this is going to come out, right? So here with the remaining balance, it'd be the 67 minus the payment. You wouldn't be done, right? Because you have the interest earned also. But I'm saying this payment comes out at the end of the year, so it earns the interest on whatever number is here. So this is going to be equal to this number times your nominal rate, which is up here, which is your 6%. And you want to lock the row on that, and with this one, you want to lock the column on that. Okay. And now the remaining balance is, you're going to add that in. Oops. Right there. So your end of the year balance is that number, 67 billion. Is that, and that'll be your new balance here, right? The next year, that'll be the balance. All right, 67 billion. And now all these formulas, these three formulas are the same. So you can just say copy, and you can bring in just formulas and clear out the fill. Okay, and that's 65, 66, 65. I'm looking here. Yeah. So now again, so I mean, you could do that. Stop and think, and maybe some of you should do that. Go through this for all the years that are sitting in here. But now that you have sort of the pattern, I mean, we could do one more, right? You could say, okay, the initial balance. What is this? This is just simply that. It's the end of the year balance. That's 65. The interest earned. This is the same computation. Control D, right? 391, 5 billion. Remaining balance is the same computation. You take the initial balance, subtract the payment, add the interest, and then this is just simply that, the 64 billion. And then that comes back here. Now, with all the filling down that you're doing, you can just hover on that formula like that, go to the last year, say Control D, and you've brought down all the references to these end of the year balances. You can take the end of the year balance, Control D, and now your two computation lines, you can highlight the both of them and say Control D. And you're right when you end up at that last year with that, right? You've used up all the capital, and you've maintained your payments, so you've maintained the payment that you pre-computed. Okay, your last year of interest is 275 million. We'd all love to make 275 million just in interest. We'd all love to make that, right? So there you go. Okay, so you took what was left with the balance, you added the interest, and that covered. That's about that, right? This is 4.6. This is about 2 or something. So that's how you got 4.9. 3 and 4.6 and 0.3 is 4.9. Okay, that's using the and again, always save as you go. So that's the nominal rate. Is that okay? And now we're going to do this again. We're going to do this again. Okay, we'll do this again, but with the the years. We'll do this again with the years. Okay. That the initial balance, just the only thing that's happening this first year again in 2013 is that 67 billion. Now we're using the real part of this, the real part of this. Oops. Okay, this is this. Now the payments that you computed using the real rates, it's not the 4.8 anymore. It's 3.379. Okay, and you're gonna set that equal to that. And you're gonna go all the way down with this Control D. Okay. That's your new and again, what you're hoping to happen is this, at the end of all your computations, after 30 years using the real rates, that you get to 0. So, those are your payments, and now, yeah, the interest is gonna be that number times the real rate, which is the 2.9. And you're gonna lock in that row, and you're gonna lock in the column. So the AK gets a dollar sign, and the 491, which is the interest row, that gets a dollar sign. So what you're gonna do is you'll say copy Alt HV formula, bring the formula down there. The remaining balance is what you started with minus your payment plus your interest. Okay, that's 65 billion is what that is. So a payment came out, you earned some interest, and then here, this just simply refers to your year end. I probably overdid it when I first worked on these. Oops. These are repetitive when I made this model. All right, we'll leave it. We'll leave it. Because this has all the computation, and then it's really the same. That's all this. I sort of overdid it a bit. Okay. And then you can take these two, copy, and this will be formulas. You bring the formulas down. You'll clear this out. And the remaining balance is simply the initial balance minus the payment plus the interest earned. Is that. Okay. And then from here, you can take all of these and just go all the way down, Control D. And this one, you need this one to make it work, Control D. And surprise, surprise, there you go. Bold. Okay. And there's you ended with no capital, right? Which is what you wanted. So yeah, so this really will test whether you understood what we're talking about here or not. Okay. So this was the second version. So the midterm assignment version will have whatever Bill Gates's current net. I think we looked it up. It's 104. I think we looked up one of the other. Let's see if the journal has anything. Oh, he's down to 82. All right, I thought this was 104 somewhere, but okay, it's down to 82. Breaking down Bill Gates's wealth. Is this a graphic one? I don't know if this is a graphic one. Oh no, this is something that you can read. Okay. So, and this is 2014. Yeah, this is only in 2014. So, but still, I suspect this might be a good a good version of this. But it's good though. Him and his wife, they talk about, yeah, they're always someplace where they have name tags, right? Where they're having some event, right? Where they got to say who I am, right? You got to say who you are, kind of a thing. And so, yeah, I apologize. I don't know what this is. My operating system is updated, so that's why it's maybe taking see, whatever. It's and then this is an older article too. It's getting tired, looking for the Wall Street Journal stuff. Yeah, we're gonna get back to this. So this is 2014. And this goes through. And again, what do people who have this kind of money? What do they do with their money? This sort of explains that. which for you guys, I'd like you guys to see again. Wait, whatever. He's got a money manager, and that guy's profiled somewhere somehow. I remember that Larson. I remember that was the guy's name. That was the guy who managed Bill Gates's money. Yeah. Too much. Wow. Yeah. 2023. Whatever. Okay. So, and do we have a date on this? Yeah, let's get the date. Yeah, I would take the authors' names out because I'm not here to. I'm not here to advertise for someone's career. So. Okay. That's the reading list that you guys are going to be looking at some point. Okay, so breaking Bill Gates as well. Here, I did it in front of you, kind of how to get a hold of some of these. Again, my house here, just as and all of our houses, right? I think the house I grew up in was maybe 4,000 square foot, probably out of 4,000 because it had four apartments, or about 1,000 square foot each. And it was my grandmother, us, my aunt, my uncle, my mom, and my mom and dad. But yeah, so this is as of 2014 what he's worth. Okay, so but there's some other thing here. There should be another one of these. Um, let's see. This man's job. Okay, to make Bill Gates richer. The fortune's ballooned. So there you go. And I'm not going to do this one too, but yeah, we'll pull this out and but it's good though. Like I said, it makes you do the research into what's going on. Which I think is generally a good thing. So we're gonna pull these out of there, and do we have the links? So we'll take these two, cut these. And then we'll do the Larson one. I'll pick that up. This man's job is to do whatever. Again, so I guess 2014 we were examining Bill Gates's his wealth or something, whatever it was. We were doing that at some point. And there were two people who, the two Wall Street Journal folks who became experts at who and what this guy is. But again, it gives you some. And folks, let me tell you, you may not really. You might sit there and say to yourselves, "Oh yeah, I wish I had this, and I wish I had that." And let me tell you, folks, taxes, the potential for the potential for some sort of uh, uh, regulatory action against you and moving money. And believe me, if you're starting to be worth lots of money, you're moving money internationally, and you need banks that can do. It's not going to be the local whatever, just fill in the blank, your local little bank kind of a thing. You're going to need people who can accomplish all that for you. Okay, so yeah, we'll get. I'm not going to deal with that now. We'll get back to this. But like I said, so yeah, so there's other articles here that we could look at as to who and what the Bill Gates the phenomena is, and that kind of thing. We'll get back to that. But it's gonna. Let me tell you, with a lot of assets comes complexity, and making sure that you're following all the rules. And I'm telling you, it's easy to sort of shake your fist at sort of the world and say, yeah, I didn't have lots of money growing up and this and that, and I'm working hard or whatever, trying to make my way in the world. And then when you become the wealthy guy, then what do you can't that story isn't gonna fly anymore. You're the wealthy guy now, and that's That's something to keep in mind. So anyhow, so we did the two Bill Gates wealth problems, and we have a little bit of time here, so we can knock out a little more of these. And again, folks, I'm doing a little housekeeping here as I'm sort of talking to everybody here. Um, yeah, AI. We get this one, so we're going to bring this up. There's the mortgages problem. We're going to look at that. So let's. There we go. Okay, so we have this one. So this is a self-test, and let's see if we can. Yeah, it says suppose you're retired at 70 and you expect to live 20 more years. How much money do you need to save to support the your consumption plan? Okay, so this is another. This is similar, very similar to the Bill Gates version. And this again, and these are, these are some of the retirement problems that are sort of out there. Okay, so we'll pull this up and our version of things here. We can just drop this right there. Yeah, there we go. Okay. All right, so this is another similar problem, and we sort of contained it all. We could look at mortgages next, so we'll work on this one next. So, and again, with this age and 20 years, so see, again, you have to start of age 70, the end of age 70, when you want your payments to come due and all that kind of a thing. Okay, so it says you want to spend, so the period is 20 years. Your interest rate out there is 7%, and we're telling you the cash flow 55,000. Okay, we're telling you the cash flow is that. And again, you have the same sort of tools, right? Present value, and it says here's the question is how much you have to save. And that's your question, how much you have to save. Okay, so we're going to look at that. So, yeah, we can work on the factor equal parenthesis 1 divided by 7% minus divided by 7% again times 1 divided by 1 plus 7%. Years, all that. So to spend $1 for 20 years at 7%, interest rate environment, you need about $10, about $10.60 is that's what the annuity factor tells you. And then you multiply it by your factor. Okay. So the present factor would be product of that 55, comma, the rate. Yeah, 582,671. Again, that's reasonable. I think it's very reasonable for you guys to set that up. Now, with the yeah, this is we're not doing taxes, right? This is this is not an accounting book. Obviously, there's a tax impact on that 55,000. So you got that's pre-tax. Or I mean, look, you have to and it's not minor. It's not a minor amount. You got to factor that into your models. Okay. We'll do the present value check, 20 payments. Yeah. So what that means is you have to have capital 582,000. Okay. To start out with. That's what that means. So we're good with that. And again, you go back to these tables. Okay. You're gonna go back to your tables again. So 0. Yeah. So here you're gonna do the math and all this stuff. All the math will be done here. Control D. There you go. And you're the same. Your initial balance, right, is at 582. And again, nothing happens. And this is you can see this is the same model. This is the same model. Nothing happens there, right? It's T0, but at the end of the year, and now this is what we just did with the Bill Gates problem. So you can see. So believe me, financial now. I've been in financial planner offices, just meeting with people for some reason. I can't at this moment. I can't for the life of me remember why, but we'll have a program, we have some software, and they'll put in whatever what you want to spend and how many years, and they wouldn't even tell you what the interest. They'll plug in these two numbers, and magically this thing will spit out what you need. It'll spit out the 582 or something like that. But you guys can. It's always better that you guys understand how to do all this. Now you figured out. I'm saying you're given the payments, right? You're given the payments. So, and again, these are 20 payments. These are 20 payments. 20. Right? And then the interest, again, you have your 7%. So it's going to be equal to the initial number times that rate. And this is going to be $. This is going to be column. So again, earning 40,000 a year in interest, right? Not bad. And then the reason we anchored in, so the row is whatever 599, that's not going to move, and we want to maintain the column, the AM column. All right. So what you can do is, just very quickly, Alt H formula. You could now the formula's in it. We know this formula is correct. Okay, we know that we're correct with that. The remaining balance, what you started with, you subtracted your payment, you added your interest, and this is just equal to that. Okay. These should have $. I don't know why they don't. They should. Okay. And then when you circle back to the next year, so at the end of year 1, your balance is 568, and you're going to equate this 568. You're going to equate that to that. And then you're going to do that the whole way. So that's just Control D, right? The payment you have. Okay. And as we go, obviously we need this last column. As we go through these last columns, all the other numbers will start filling in. Okay. So these two, you're going to pull these, and you'll do just the formulas. And there you go. So now you have 553. Control D. And again, so you're going to end up with, you're right. Even though if you look at the book, the answers, I forget what the answer in the book was. The answer was just, I think it was just this, and that's it. It didn't have the table. Right. So if you look at the textbook, it's just a little problem. And you look at the answers in the back, it's not going to have what we did. But again, that's my job as a professor is to enhance what's in this textbook. Okay. So we did another one of these. This is a mortgage one. And I don't recall. I'm just going to look while we're here. I'm just going to look real quick. And what we have here. What was asked here with the mortgages? Okay, what's the appropriate monthly payment? And I think this was yeah. So if it's 30 years and it's a monthly payment, you're looking at 360 entries. So we didn't go that far, but this is another, it's another version of things. Then you have future value of annuity. You have that coming up. We have some tables with that. Annuity due. So yeah. So let's look at the home mortgage one, and that's probably going to be enough for what we're doing today. So we'll look at the home mortgage one will be next. And we'll get to the rest of this stuff on the next video. Okay, so let's look at the home mortgage one. The home mortgage one says there you go. Okay, this is your mortgage problem. Did we put this here? But that's what this one is. That's whatever the examples. The home mortgage one stayed the same thing. So we're here with this copy. Again, I can try to jam it in here if I can. Okay, so you guys have that in there, and I'll drop that in my version so I have it in the future. Okay, again, let's always understand the problem. It says find a series of cash payments that give a value that would provide a given value today. For example, home purchases typically borrow the bulk of the house price from a lender. Common is a 30-year arrangement that's paid in equally monthly installments. And the house, again, so at the time, houses were 125,000, I suppose. The part puts down 25%. So you're only financing 100,000. So you just subtract out the down payment from a lender's local savings bank. It says, what's the appropriate monthly mortgage payment? The borrower pays the loan by making monthly payments over the next 30 years. The savings bank needs to set these monthly payments so they have a present value of 100,000. So again, the reason I didn't make the whole table is because and you'll see this. Okay, 30 years is fine, but it's 30 years of monthly payments, so it's like 360 is the yeah. It's a 360 month factor. Okay, it's no longer it's not just 30 years. Okay, were we given an interest rate here? What does the book say? And yeah, so suppose your monthly interest rate is a percent. Okay, that's a percent. So you're given that. Okay, you're given that as a part of it. And the rest of this is going to be so it's 30 years times 12 months. All right, so it's 360 periods. You're given the present value, 100,000. Right, you're given the present value, and you're figuring out the monthly payment. You're figuring out the C is what you're that and that's it. And we didn't do the whole table with this. We didn't do all that. Okay, but that's what and it says this is an amortizing loan. So yeah, and actually this might be good to start with this. Um, the property market value at the time of purchase was 125,000. 20% of the purchase price equals 20% of this. 25,000 came out, and amount to be financed was, and this is an amortizing loan. The part of the monthly payment is used to pay the interest on the loan. Part is used to reduce the amount of the loan. That's what they mean by amortizing. And I'll tell you that term. I mean, okay, fine. We mentioned it in the finance book, but that term, you're going to see that term a lot in accounting and banking analysis. You're going to see investments that are on the books as amortized, and that's certainly an important concept to get your heads around. Um, yeah, actually, as we're looking at this, we might be able to get it in here. This is not that many years, so yeah, let's because I'm saying all this is what's left with this is just the two pieces here. This is the factor, right? Remember the factor from before? 1 divided by the rate. Remember this thing? 1 divided by the rate again. 1 divided by 1 plus the rate, and 360 now, not 30 years, but 360 years. Roll that. Okay. So if you borrow, turning this around, if you borrow $97, you're going to have to pay that back over 360 periods at a buck a period. That's really again. So just turning around so the 360 month annuity factor is that. So you have 360 payments. So you borrowed $97, you're paying a dollar back. So again, anytime you take out a loan on anything, it's right because obviously that's a couple times what you borrowed. So you want to make sure you really want to avoid as much debt as possible. So and now all we do here is say equal, right? 100,000 divided by the rate, and there's your monthly payment. So again, those folks of you out there with houses, whatever, Berkeley Heights or something, right? $1,000 a month. That's pretty good. Now a percent a month is pretty. That's much higher than my credit rating is a quarter of that. Okay, per month. But again, that's because you have good credit ratings. So that's my advice to you is that. So yeah. So and here's the formula: a mortgage payment is the present value of the annuity divided by the annuity factor. There's the formulas are here. Okay, and this was the structure of what we did here was right there. And the check, let's look at the check. this was equal to present value, rate, periods, payments, and you end up with 0. So again, the present value of this agreement so there's 100,000 today. So if you're buying a house and somebody else owned it, they get that 100,000, and then your obligations to the bank to pay the $1,000 they fronted you to pay that back at 1,000 a month for basically 4 times that value, especially at a percent a month. Now, if you change this, if you made this point, if you did that, you can see it's much less. That's about my mortgage was something like that or whatever. Yeah, there you go. It's at about a 0.5% a month, something like that. But you can see when that percentage moves around a bit, it has a big impact on this number. So you always want to keep that in mind. Okay. The other thing that's happening here, we have this amortizing loan, and I think we have the time to do it. And actually, forgive me for I'm doing a little bookkeeping as we're in class doing this. So we're here with this mortgage or amortization. So yeah, and then what we'll do is we'll come back with um the with that self test. We'll come back with that. Yeah, right there. Okay, this other example that we're going to work on. All right, this is a 15. I don't think that's the problem though. So yeah, this is just an example of I think this is just from the text. I was probably just reading in the text here. It's not annuity. Yeah, it's this thing. Here it is. It's this. Okay, of what an amortizing loan is. Okay, so let's go through that. So this, and you're not supposed to be able to read this. This is just these are my answers as I'm going through all this. And then you have the yeah, we'll make a quick graph, and then we'll call it a day. So you have this thing here. So it says a 4-year amortizing loan of $1,000 with interest rate 10%. So yeah, so you have 10%. Okay, interest rate is 10%. The beginning of the year balance is 1,000. Okay, you have that, and then from here, yeah, and now this is interest due. Okay, interest due. So you're talking 4 years. You're talking 10%. You're talking $1,000 present value. Okay, you have all those that you're looking at, and we have the factor. We have this annuity factor that we're gonna get to that in a second. But let's work out the table. Actually, no, we have to figure out the cash flow. So we need to start down here. Um, yeah. So you borrow 1,000. You're gonna pay it back over 4 years, and like I said, you wanna look we're not gonna necessarily do it right now, but you wanna look up the definition of amortization, the accounting definition, depreciation. Basically writing something down is basically what that, but you wanna look up those and have good solid definitions of that. We have to figure out these payments. That's we're gonna the year-end payment, and there's 4 of them. Okay, that's sort of the next spot here, or the next thing we need to do. So this is, equal to the cash flow, and these are equal to one another. Control D. All right. So as we figure these out, they'll just appear right there. All right. So I want the factor, and that's just again. I don't keep bringing that formula around, but it's this thing, right? It's this formula. So this is equal to parenthesis 1 divided by that rate. That rate. For years. Okay. There's your factor. Okay. So what that means is if you're going to pay back looking at this, so present value, $1. Yeah. So your factor, if C is 1, that means today, your $4 payments are worth $3.17. That's what that means. That's the value today, of that. So in other words, if you borrow, at 10%, $3.17, you pay back a buck, right? It'll take you 4 years to do it. That's what that means. Okay, so yeah, I just had that up there. Okay, so looking at in terms of the cash flow, it would be equal to 1,000 divided by the factor. There it is. Okay, so it's you're making $315 payments. And if what you can do, I mean, I don't love doing this because I know I'm not saying it doesn't mean anything, but if you just not because you're adding up across all these years, you borrowed 1,000 and just looking at it, you're paying back 1,261. That's a way to look at it. I mean, it's not the best because you're adding up across all the years like that, but because you're in different time periods, like in Star Trek, right? So, but that's a way to look at it. Is that okay? And again, so now instead of the spending, right, you're looking at it from the bank's perspective, and then what you're doing, towards the bank. So the bank gave you 1,000, you're giving the bank $315.47 4 times over the next 4 years. Okay, so if just nominally looking at it, obviously you're paying a little bit more. Okay, and if you look at that interest rate, that'll be about a 26%. The total interest rate might be about a 26% interest rate. But that's again, we don't use. I'll leave this here, but we don't use this too often. So okay, so you borrow $1,000. Okay, the initial interest rate is that 10%, and let's lock the row times your 1,000. All right, and let's lock the column there. 100, right, is right there. That's interest due on the balance. Okay, and now here's where the amortization, here's what the mathematical definition of amortization comes in. And actually, here we don't need this. I don't know what that is, but so that's the interest that's due, and there's your cash payment. Your delta or your difference between what you're paying and your interest is the amortization. Okay, so you pay 100 towards interest and 215 towards amortization, and then the balance it doesn't incorporate the interest. The balance incorporates your amortization. See that? What happens? See the difference in this from the previous problem? You get $1,000 principal or capital. You owed 100 on that. You paid 315. Of the 315, 100 covered the interest. Then 215 wrote down the principal. So what this means is the next balance is at 784, and your next interest is this. It's no whoops. It's no longer $100 in interest. It's 78, right? It's $78 in interest because that's your new principal because you paid down 215 of this. So now what you do here, you take the formula, alt HV formula. All right, now you're 237 amortization. So you've paid off a little more of the principal because you have a lower interest payment. And this is simply copy alt HV formula. Is that 547 and whatever that is. And now from here, you could just bring everything down. Control D, Control D, and there's what you're after, right? You're after 0 end of 4-year balance of 0. Okay? That's what you're trying to do. And I think we made a graph of this. Yeah, here's a little, it says an example of the mortgage loan. You borrow $1,000, interest rate to 10%. You'd make an annual payment through 15 over 4 years with interest, kind of a thing. So this is, yeah. So looking at this is the balance. So we have a stacked, yeah, we have a stacked graph here is what you have. So again, remembering how to do all this: interest due, or this is interest paid, amortization. So yeah, so we'll make this graph and we'll call it a day. So, and also the check here, this check was what? Yeah, this check is simply equals present value. So again, obviously you want to get the $1,000 back. So this is the rate, periods, payments, get to 0. All right. So Excel does a little check for you on your numbers. Okay. All right. And let's work on the graph now. I like this one. This is a good one. This is a good one. I like this one. So what do we have here? You have that. Okay. So let's see if that works. Insert column stacked. Did that do it? I don't know if that did it. That one, insert column stacked. Good, which was right there. And select the data. Yeah, there you go. You have to do one in the next and name these. This was amortization. And this was interest paid. Yeah. Okay. See how we did that? You start with one in the next is what you do. So you start with interest paid. You go to insert column, stack. You stack column. Select data, add, highlight the amortization. See how it does it? And there you go. That's how you do it. Folks, I have to remind myself too, because I don't make these graphs all the time. So, okay. And now we'll work out the details of all of this. So this is design, something like that. Titles. You can do legend top. Okay. This is mortgage amortization. And then we had $1,000 loan, 4 years, 10%. And this would be a little bit smaller. Okay, and what you could do is you could put a border around this thing if you want, something like that. And a border around there. Okay. I mean, with the grid lines, you could maybe thin them a bit. I don't know why I was like purple, but I do for some. I don't know why. Right click, format the area. Let's do a shadow. We love a shadow. Okay, there you go. You could put a fill in here, a very, very light fill. Okay. And we need some labels. You can make it a little bit bigger. And also, now with the x-axis, that's just sort of the default. But here, let's do this. See what it says edit. Let's pick this specifically, even though it's the same. See how we did? So, and okay. It's specific. We like specific. Horizontal title below. And this is Control A. Years. And this is vertical rotated. US dollars. Okay. And 3 up to 350. I did these by 50 cents, but here we did them by 25. I'm sorry, $50 by $25. But you could format this access major unit $50 or 25. You can alter it right there. But that's your graphic that shows so what this is saying is you're paying less interest as time goes on and more of the principal of the loan. That's and a 4-year one is like a handleable one that you can look at. Okay. Yeah, some of these other ones can be a little a little tougher. If it's 360 periods or something, it's going to be a little tougher to get our hands around that. Okay, so we're going to pick up here with the next video. So we did good today. And we did there. This is a 15-year mortgage. And actually looking at this, it had some very specific questions, but yeah, it's just asking about a couple of the payments. So instead of making that whole, but again, always go back to the Bill Gates one. That's how to make the whole table. And here too, you have the table here. This is just a couple years, okay. But then some of them, obviously could be longer. If you're doing this on an acquisition or you're doing this on a real deal, you don't want to cut corners here. We cut a little bit of a corner here by just looking at a couple of them just to get through the material because we're just repeating ourselves with the Bill Gates problem. Pretty much shows you how to do everything, but you'd want to make everything if you're really doing this. If you're on the acquisition team somewhere, you don't want to. That's definitely someplace you don't want to cut a corner because there's lawsuits, malpractice. Believe me, the financial part of it, the accounting part of it, you're just as liable as the attorneys are with professional malpractice, and it can't be just shortcutting everything, and you got to be very careful with that. Okay. All right, so for next time, we have this to future annuity, future annuity. And yeah, the next one I think will be good to deal with. So we have this one. So this is built the Bill Gates III. You have this one, and these will be the next section. So what is this thing? Yeah, these are rates. So this would be 10 here. So we're going to cut here. There. This is 11, not 10. This is 11. That's 12. We'll see if this is how this works itself out, kind of like this. But this is where we are today with this. We have one more with the future values annuity due, and then we'll hit 47 is effective rates, and then 52 is inflation. Okay. Okay, folks, we're all set. Thank you very much.